Congressman G.K. Butterfield, who represents the 1st Congressional District of North Carolina, and that includes Northampton County and Halifax County and 21 other counties.
Thank you very much, Corliss. Let me say good afternoon to all of you and thank you for coming by this afternoon to share this very special time with us. This is the 4th annual Weldon Constituent Day. We started this 3 years ago and it is a tremendous success, and the people of Weldon and surrounding communities have looked forward to this every year, and I want to thank you for coming out to make it the success that it is. Corliss is absolutely right. I represent 23 counties in northeastern North Carolina. Halifax is one of those 23 counties. Halifax County is very special to me and my staff. It's my honor, our honor, to represent you in the House of Representatives. I have a very special affection for Halifax County. Many of you know that. I've been coming to this community all of my life. I had an uncle many years ago who was the principal of the school here, Ralph Bunch, schooled right down the street. I had relatives over in Enfield and over in Gettysburg and all around, and so I feel right at home when I come back into this community. The other reason that I'm so fond of this community is because of the gentleman who is walking up on the stage at this moment. Dr. Salter Cochran and his family have been friends of my family for as long as I can remember. And it's my joy to occupy the residence that he once had as a medical office and as his private residence. And so that's another good reason for us being here today. Let's give the Cochran family a round of applause. I am not going to hold you very long this afternoon, even though the temptation is great, the weather is right, and the chemistry is right among all of us, but I'm not going to hold you very long, but I just want to say one or two things and then I will take. I came off of the House floor last night at 10:30 p.m. I did not realize that we would be in session that late last night, and all of the airplanes had left Washington by 10:30, and so I got in an automobile with one of my staff members and we drove south on 95, and we got to exit 171 and thought we could not go another mile. And so we pulled off of the interstate and spent the night here and went on to our destination this morning. But the reason I was late getting off the floor last night was because we were debating the National Defense Authorization Act of 2008, and I am so proud of the work that the Democratic Congress is doing. I am happy to tell you that all of our active duty personnel throughout the world will receive, once the president signs the legislation, a 3.9% increase in their salary. That is very significant. Also, we have addressed the question of TRICARE, and those of you who are dependents and retirees know the importance of TRICARE. We have extended TRICARE, we have strengthened TRICARE, and it's going to continue without any co-payments whatsoever from the participants, and that is significant. Finally, I'm happy to tell you that we last night passed a new GI Bill for our soldiers and sailors, Marine and Airmen, so that when they come out of theater, when they come back home to their families and to their communities, if they have served 36 months in our military, they will be guaranteed a college education in an in-state institution, and I am so proud of that. But ladies and gentlemen, we have great challenges in our country, and I don't need to tell you about the economy and gas prices and all of the things that we're facing in this country, but I want you to know that we are serious. We are serious about changing the direction of this country. This is a participatory democracy, and we welcome your views. I'm delighted today to see a group from Gates County that's very close to my office, and they are very strongly opposed to the siting of the OLF in Gates County. And I want to thank them and welcome them to this event today, and to let them know so that there will be no misunderstanding about it, and there have been some rumors that are absolutely untrue. This congressman is opposed to the siting of an OLF in Gates County. The question is, how are we going to work together to convince the United States Navy in an appropriate way to not place that field in that location. And so we're going to continue to work with all of our friends. Finally, we're going to continue to try to end the war in Iraq in 2009. And I know how you feel about that, because everywhere I go, people are talking about the war and the effects of the war on our country. You must clearly understand that we as a nation are fighting two wars. Yes, we are. We are fighting the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan. Those are two separate wars. The war in Afghanistan is a necessary war. It is the global war on terror. That is the war that is in response to what happened on 9/11. That is the war to silence Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups throughout the world. And we're going to win that war, and we're going to do it in our lifetime. But the war in Iraq has nothing to do with terrorism. The war in Iraq was misguided, it was misplaced. We had no business going into Iraq, and under a Democratic administration, we're going to bring the troops home in 2009. We're also going to balance the federal budget. We're going to balance this budget by the year 2012. And I'm going to close with this. We are operating a $2 trillion government in Washington, D.C. It cost us $2 trillion to run the government. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We are only taking in $1.5 trillion. That is a problem. If Mayor Draper had that problem in Weldon, they would run him out of town, spending 25% more than he takes in this budget. The same thing in Washington, D.C. We are spending more money than we are taking in. And when you spend more than you receive, you have a deficit. And for the last 7 years, we have experienced deficits like we have never, ever seen before. And that's why we do not have the money to invest in Weldon and Tillery and all around eastern North Carolina. That's why over in Hollister, I was talking to a group of Vista volunteers a minute ago about the infrastructure needs in Hollister. The reason we don't have the money is because we have unbalanced budgets and we are spending money in places where we don't need to spend. We have spent $1 trillion in Iraq. Yes, we have. We have given tax breaks to the wealthy. The Republican majority gave tax breaks in 2001, 2002, 2003, giving tax breaks to the wealthy while we are engaged in the war and while the American people are suffering. And so I pledge to you that we are going to continue our efforts to balance the federal budget by 2012, because the longer we go without balancing the budget, the more unstable our economy becomes. When you have unbalanced budgets, you have to borrow money in your church and in your communities, in your business. If you run short of money, you have to find that money in order to pay your bills. Well, we have had to borrow money at the federal level. We are now $9.4 trillion in debt, and that is going to change. And so, Weldon, that is my message to you. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your prayers and your friendship. We work very hard to serve this community, and the staff works so very hard. I'm delighted that we have a staff that understands the 1st District. All of my staff members, without exception, know the 1st District, love and respect, and understand the challenges that we have in the 1st District. And so as I take my seat, at this time I want to take a point of personal privilege to ask Rosina and Ann to put their plates down for a minute, and the rest of you, and just I caught her by surprise. You know how your mother used to say, I got eyes behind my head? I see what all of them are doing all over the place. But seriously, ladies and gentlemen, I get a lot of credit for things that I do not deserve. It's the staff that does the work. I show up and take the pictures and have the conversations with you, but the truth of the matter is it's the staff behind the scenes that gets the job done. And so I'm going to start with the Chief of Staff, who grew up on Sycamore Street in Weldon, North Carolina, my Chief of Staff, Corliss Clemens James. Come up, Corliss. Give her a hand. The district is divided into 3 regions. This is the Northeast region. The manager for this region is Dolly Burwell. All of you know Dolly Burwell. Come up, Dolly. Come up, Dolly. Working with Dolly in this office is, she has two staff members, Christy Weaver. You know Christy, most of you do. Come up, Christy. And Shelton Barnes, if you would please come up, Shelton. This is the team here in Weldon. Over in Williamston, we have Danny Mallison, who is the manager for that region. That's Danny. And Cammie Britton, if you'd come up, Cammie. And Ann Floyd Huggins and Rosina Ricks. Please give them a hand. Finally, the Wilson region. Reuben Clayton is the manager for the Wilson region. I haven't seen Reuben, but he's been working all day. He is here. Reuben, he disappeared on me this morning, and he was working. But Reuben Clayton, Eva Clayton's youngest son, from the Wilson office. We also have Gigi Slade from the Wilson office. Thank you very much. These are the North Carolina staff people. Now for the Washington, D.C. folks who are here. Let's see. Saul Hernandez. Where is Saul? Please come down, Saul. He is multi-talented. He's over there. Lee Lilly, who is here, who drove me down last night, and I slept while he drove. Lee Lilly, where are you? And every time he would hit a bump, I would say, what was that? What was that? And finally, from the D.C. office is the newest addition to our staff, Daniel Wilkins. Where are you, Daniel? Please give my staff a round of applause. Thank you very much. May God bless all of you. It is now my privilege to introduce to you our special guest, thank you, for this evening. He is no stranger to this community. Salter and Doris Cochran lived in this structure for many years and raised a family and served this community not only as a medical doctor, but as a civic leader in this community. And we are delighted to occupy this building and to have a relationship with the Cochran family. I'm going to call Dr. Cochran up in just a minute. Many of you were his patients. He may have even delivered some of you. But all of you know that Salter Cochran likes to talk. And I've told Salter that as much as we love him, we're not going to give him a time limit, but we're going to ask him to come up and to give some brief remarks to the people of Weldon, North Carolina. Please put your hands together for Dr. Salter Cochran.
I'm on fire! I'm on fire! Let's get moving. I really appreciate Sam's, wait a minute, I lost my voice. That's unusual. But I'm so happy to be down here with G.K. I met him when he was 5 years old. My wife met him when he was 3. I think his mother taught here 1 or 2 years across the railroad track, and I was in the 4th grade for 1 year. I grew up in D.C., but I never forgot my Weldon roots. They moved my mother from Scotland Neck to the house across the street when she was 6 months old, and so we've been here off and on ever since. I don't know how I can follow G.K. with all that information he gave. And I'm not going to stay here long. But I have enjoyed seeing some of my friends from long ago. And I always will remember the good years that we had here, which are almost 50 years. And I've just come from upstate to my 60th class reunion from medical school. G.K. is a born speaker, an excellent legislator, and I want to say, keep the fight going. It's difficult. I know. I have been a member of the past. We fought to get you this far. And so let's continue to fight and say, I'm all fired up and ready to go. Thank you.
As we close, it is my pleasure to present to Dr. Cochran a copy of the tribute that I entered into the congressional record, recognizing the many, many years of service of Dr. Salter Josiah Cochran, Jr. Dr. Cochran, thank you for a job well done. Again, as we close, all right. We can do this quickly. I can do this in 2 minutes. I want the Congressional Black Caucus Scholarship recipients, if you would please raise your hands. CBC Scholarship recipients, thank you, thank you, thank you. The Military Academy Future Cadet nominees, if you would please raise your hand so that we can acknowledge you. Last but not least, it's my pleasure to recognize and thank all of you who serve as elected officials in whatever community you serve. I saw Senator Ed Jones and Representative Michael Ray was here a few moments ago, and the District Attorney Steve Graham, and the Senior Superior Court Judge Alma Hinton, and oh my, I've started calling names. I just want you to see them, you know. All of the elected officials, would you please come down front so we can give you your recognition? All of the elected officials. I think I saw Brenda Branch here a minute ago. Alma, is she here? Yeah, Fannie Green, Northampton County, oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our elected officials who serve our community. Carl Farabee, thank you. Please give them a hand. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to go back and have a good time. This is Veterans Day weekend. Remember the purpose for the season, and that is to honor our veterans. Thank you very much.